could not be created. Why? Steam stream could not be created. I don't know why. Why can't it be created? Oh, it is on. Oh, see, that's so weird. It's saying it could not be created, but yet it's live. It's on the 17th second of the. See, this is the technical difficulties I go through. It's just so awful. I feel retarded. Like, people use technology all the time, and when I go to try to use technology, it's like incompatible. You are not to use technology. You know, it's there. Why can't I use it? Anyway, okay. Clear that out. All right. So today I'm doing a movie review on a film from 1986. It is in the genre of teen romantic comedy. It is a cult classic, and it was written by John Hughes, and that's probably why it's a cult classic, because been a long, long years, a lot of fans of John Hughes' work, and I'm one of the fans. And the director was Howard Dutch. I'm not sure how to say his last name. And it starred Molly Ringwald, John Cryer, and Andrew McCarthy. There are five main characters, but the three that I just mentioned, those were the three main characters, which was sort of like one of the first little love triangles that we got a taste of in the 80s. Uh, but there are five characters that I want to talk about. You know how I love to talk about the characters as I talk about what I like and don't like about a show. So, I love this movie. I'm going to give it, out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it 4.7 stars, because I also love The Breakfast Club, which is another work of John Hughes. Been a big fan of The Breakfast Club for a long, long time, but I do think that Pretty in Pink is more romantic than The Breakfast Club. So I wanted to talk about why I like this movie. Okay. Um, Quick plot synopsis so that I can move on to the character. It's about a teenage girl. She's really cool. She has her own style. She's poor. She doesn't have a mom because her mom left her and her dad. And but she does really good in school, and she tries to follow all the rules. And even though, she does stand out because she has fiery red hair and she has a very unique style, and she, people notice her, and she has friends and stuff, but she gets frustrated by economical economical factors of society because she's poor. So that's basically the plot, and the romance part of that is that there's two eligible love interests, the rich guy and the poor guy. And so this is a teenage girl trying to figure that out. Um, the plot, is a classic plot, whether it's done with teenagers or whether it's done with Marilyn Monroe and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes or How to Marry a Millionaire. I mean, it's basically another spin on Cinderella, the poor girl who, what's she gonna do? So, all right, so now I'll talk about the characters, the 5 characters. Now, not just the 3 main ones, but the 5 characters that should all be mentioned, in my opinion. There's Andy, played by Molly Ringwald. She's your Cinderella, okay? Then there's Ducky, her best guy friend, who is madly in love with her, and he's the poor boy. And then there's her new love interest, Blaine, played by Andrew McCarthy, who's the rich boy who's interested in her. And then there's Steph, who's also a rich boy, and that is one of Blaine's best friends. But Steph actually noticed Andy first. So there's that. And then there's Iona, and she's the record store owner, where she's like Andy's boss. She owns and runs a little record store, and Andy works there. But those are the five main characters, and I'm not going to mention Andy's father as a main character, even though he could be. If you wanted to say there's six main characters, her father is important to some degree because it. All right, I'll say there's six characters and Andy's father. Okay, we'll talk about Andy's father also. He's also poor. Um, okay, so all right. So, and if we talk about it as in six characters, then there's the poor people, Andy, Andy's father, and Ducky, and then there's the two wealthy beaux, the Blaine and Steph, and then there's Iona, which would represent like the middle class. She's not super wealthy. She's like a self-made woman. She's comfortable, and that's who Andy works for. Okay, so all right, now let's go on with the story. I want to talk about each character and how I feel about each character. Now, Andy, she's just a poor teenager. I mean, but she doesn't look poor. She doesn't go to school looking poor. She dresses nice. She makes her own clothes. She has great taste in music. She has some nice friends, even though some, they're not the cheerleader or the football player. They kind of, maybe some of them are sort of odd or weird looking because they're making the best out of whatever they have, or some of them just choose to be that way even if they have more. But those are the sort of the crowd she runs with, and Ducky, he's the poor guy, and that's her best friend. Now Andy, I think she's a very relatable character, whether you're a teenager or whether you're older and looking at, you know, women and how we try to decide what to do, when it comes to romance, when it comes to career, when it comes to identity. She's just trying to figure out, like, she's about to graduate high school. She's getting ready to graduate high school, and she's got to figure out like what she's going to do with her life. She's been poor. She's been abandoned by her mother, and she's been living with her poor father, who still can't get over that the mother left. And so there's some really sad stuff going on at that house. Um, then there's Ducky. Okay, that's enough about Andy for now. I'll talk more about her later when I mention about the romance stuff. Then there's Ducky. We don't know what Ducky's house looks like. We never see Ducky's house. We just know he's a lot like Andy. He's basically like the male version of her, except that she's a little more open minded to the Cinderella dream or fantasy, whereas Ducky doesn't believe in the Cinderella fantasy. He thinks they were made for each other. They're from the same part of town. They like all the same stuff, and they should be together. So he doesn't see her Cinderella story belief at all. Um, and then there's the two like rich guys, the would be Prince Charmings, and Steph and Blaine. And they come from the rich side of town. They have money. They live in a mansion. They abuse their parents' wealth. They abuse themselves because they have everything, so they don't know what to do with themselves. They party and have tons of lovers because they have everything. So, there's really no reason to be loyal. Um, and they're handsome and wealthy, but they're a little bit different. Steph notices Andy first because she's driving this old, nostalgic, cute little pink car, and she's always, dressed nice. But he knows that she didn't shop at the top-notch store. She's not wearing all the brand name clothing. He notices these details about her, and he sees quality. He sees quality in her persona, and he's interested. So he approaches her, but he doesn't approach her as a Prince Charming. He approaches her as a, yeah, take it or leave it kind of thing. And she's not impressed, and she says no, and which really wounds him because I guess he prided himself on the fact that he noticed her. So that really wounds him, and then he sort of decides to play it up as this douchebag, Uh, like, well, if you rejected me, then and you think I'm an a hole, then I'm really going to be an a hole. And he really, you know, plays that up. So then she meets his friend Blaine, and he's not trying to be an a-hole. He's like trying to be nice, and he's also sees something in her, and that's where the romance starts. But while the romance is starting between Andy the Cinderella and Blaine the Prince Charming, Ducky is also wounded because Steph the rich guy is wounded because he's rejected, and Ducky the poor guy is wounded because he feels rejected too. So there's both a poor and a rich that are feeling wounded by this new romance. And then I mention Iona, the record store owner, because she is different. She's showing an older woman who has probably already been through the stuff that Andy's going through, and she just decided to make career her focus. Whereas she still dates. You see her, she's dating this boyfriend or that boyfriend, and she tries all different styles and different, little fantasies or whatever that she has. But she's not really sure about, the Cinderella dream either. That's why she's there, I think, in the story to show that when the Cinderella story doesn't work out, well, then you have Iona running her own business. Um, and so, and Andy's taking all this in. Andy has her poor father at home who's drunk all the time and still crying over her mother who left many years ago and can't get his life together because that just destroyed him. And then she has Iona, this older woman who's got it all together. She's really fun, and she runs this great business, and she gave Andy a great job, and all's like cool with her. But she gets lonely, and sometimes she gets lonely, and she doesn't really know if that's the meaning of life. So Andy's taking all this in, and she doesn't mean she. I don't think that Andy ever actually means to hurt Ducky or Steph you know, by having feelings for Blaine. But it happens anyway because Ducky's madly in love with her and Steph wanted to, try with her. So it happens anyway that they got their feelings hurt. Um, okay, so what I want to say about the romantic comedy part and the romantic triangle also is that what I think the character of Andy represents more than just a Cinderella possibility is that she represents being quality with limited means. You see, even though she couldn't go to the mall and buy, you know, Oscar de la Renta or Prada or Gucci, she still goes to school very presentable, clean, presentable, and stylish. Even if she makes her own clothes or buys them secondhand, she's always presenting herself like a classic, you know? And that's what I mean by quality, quality taste. She has quality taste. Now, this has been shown, this theme of quality taste in regards to whether you're poor, rich, or middle class. Quality taste does not have a class. It doesn't necessarily just come from the poor or the middle or the rich. It doesn't come from a particular class. It's just something inside that you're either raised to have or you either have naturally. And some people reject that about themselves and some people embrace that about themselves, but Andy embraces it. And I think that that's why the three, Ducky, Blaine, and Steph, are interested in her because deep down inside, they also embrace it, whether they show it or not. Um, and that's why they're interested in her. And it's been shown in some other films, like uh, The Talented Mr. Ripley. The main character, he was not wealthy, but he was trying to hang out with wealthy people. But he had that quality taste. And those who liked him liked that about him. And those who, you know, wanted to reject that part, didn't like him. It's the same thing. It was shown in that movie. It was shown in some other movies too, where there's this taste for quality. Okay, so anyway, yeah, basically, you see them all go through different emotions and how they react to Andy and Blaine trying to have a romance. Well, prom time is coming, the big dance, the big dance, and so Blaine and Andy decide they're going to go to the prom together. So she gets all excited. She tells Iona about it. Iona and her father give her two dresses to work with to make something, and she makes this dress for herself. And she's waiting and waiting and waiting to hear from Blaine about going to the prom. And basically, he gets peer pressured to bail on her. He cracks under the pressure. He decides that he can't take this poor girl who already slept with him. He already got the milk, and now they're going to call her a hoe, and excuse my language, they're going to call her a hoe anyway. They're going to say she's po white trash, and he can't embarrass himself or his family that way, because they're so much better. Not really, not when he was sleeping with her, right? But anyway, because they're so much better than her, so he tries to basically ignore her, and she's left with no one to go to the prom with. But she goes anyway. She holds her head up as high as she can, even though she's brokenhearted, and and then Ducky, her best friend, does show up to take her arm and give her that little bit of strength that she needed just to show up there. Which was really remarkable of that character, because he was so hurt by the whole relationship, and that he was there for her anyway really shows that the best friendship thing was just gold, just really beautiful. Yeah, I mean, and she was sort of nursing her wounds and everything. And I suppose it's supposed to end in this way where we don't look at Blaine as the bad guy, but I do. And so it ends where, well, I just caved. He was weak. He was a coward, and he used her. And I mean, for that, she might as well have gone with Steph, because at least Steph wasn't making her a million promises. So, he broke her heart for no good reason. And I just, I don't think that he should get off at the end of the movie as he's still the nice guy, because he's not. Ducky and Steph were the better choices. That's how I see it. But anyway, so this is all just in cahoots, in sync with the Cinderella theme. I mean, people are going to sit there and say that, whether you're looking at the movie Pretty Woman or you're looking at the Disney classic Cinderella, that idea doesn't exist. It exists for both men and women. There are men who want to marry women with money because that'll improve their situation, and there are women who want to marry men with money. This is America. This is how it's been going on. Marilyn Monroe showed that in several of her movies. And then they'll call you a gold digger, man or woman. If you go for the money, you're a gold digger, and you have to wear that stigma. And then, then if you don't do that, then you're just stupid, because why didn't you go for the money? So either way, I think that's what Pretty in Pink really shows, is that you're sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that's why, so many women are accused of getting it wrong, because it seems like there is no right.